Thank you for being here. I want to thank Captain George Davisson and Mike Cruzan coming from North Precinct, and welcome. Thank you for being here.
So, how you doing? I was invited to come up and talk to you guys about kind of me as well as what Precinct's doing, how we're trending, and see how things go here. So, my name is George Davisson. I've been on the Seattle Police Department for about 25 years, over 25 years, not just close. About a month into my 26th year. I've had numerous assignments. When I started on the department, I was at the East Precinct. I was in patrol. I did patrol for about 11 years. I did 9 years as a first watch officer, working from 3 a.m. till noon. And then I went to third watch at the East Precinct for about a year. During that time, I met my wife, my current wife, and went to the University of Washington. University of Washington is where I got my additional degree. During my time at the East Precinct, I decided to go back and get my master's degree. So I went to the Seattle University to get my criminal justice degree, all while having a child at the same time, which is really difficult, I'll let you know, especially on first watch hours when you're working from 3 a.m. till noon, and then you get a couple hours of sleep, do your homework, try to get a couple hours of maybe another hour of sleep in there, and then go to night school and then get up and start all over. It was very hard while trying to spend time with a brand new baby. So I did that for 2 years. I think I graduated in 2009 with a criminal justice degree with a focus in investigative criminology. Again, my undergrad was at the University of Washington, degree in sociology, which, I mean, what can you do with sociology other than, police work? I did have a minor in society and justice, so there was some kind of a way to get there. I know at the University of Washington, I took a class from Norm Stamper when he was the chief, and a unique name for the class. It was called police. So really, really intelligent way of labeling the class. But I got an A in that class, so I just figured out. How I got into law enforcement, I was actually at the University of Washington I went in there as a biology major, and I didn't like the math. It wasn't that I couldn't do the math. It wasn't for me. I just didn't want to go that route. So I started kind of bouncing around trying to find a major that I liked, and I went to a sociology class, and part of that sociology class, they had you do a ride along or go down to the courthouse and observe a trial, or they had you go to the jail. Another option was to go down to the medical examiner's office and watch autopsies. I chose going on a ride along, and I went on a ride along with an officer in the North Precinct of all places, and I absolutely loved it. I went back the next week. That was not required, and I went on a ride along with that same officer. And I knew then what I wanted to do, and that's when I flipped majors, and I was like, if this has any kind of inroad into law enforcement, this is what I want to do. So I got my degree. I tried to apply for the Seattle Police Department right off the bat, was declined because I was coming right out of college, and they said I needed more life experience. So I went and got a job at Amazon for a year, working the phones. Had I known back then what I know now, I may have been a very rich man. There were the person who worked the phones next to me started with the company. And he was taking phones as a customer service rep, and he was already a millionaire. And he had let us know, and he's like, I'm never going to leave. This is awesome. And I didn't take his advice. At the time when I worked there, we had 3 tabs. If you remember the tabs on Amazon, you click on. Now there's so many, you can search for anything. Back then it was books, music, and videos. That was it. So, I mean, I was an idiot. But I worked there for a year, all the while knowing what I wanted to do, and I kept applying for police departments because I just wanted to be a police. Applied for King County. King County told me, I'll put you in the October Academy. I think it was October or November. And then I went and I applied for Seattle again, and Seattle got through the hiring phase of Seattle and went to the oral boards, and they said, what do you do? My background detective from the first time around goes, what are you doing here? And I said, I didn't get hired. He goes, what are you talking about? I recommended that you get hired. And he was mad at the hiring person at the time. And he goes, let's go talk to the sergeant right now. I was like, great. So I walked into the sergeant's office and he goes, hey, I recommended him to get hired last time. And now he just got an offer for King County Sheriff's Office for the November Academy. And he goes, I'll give you a conditional offer right now if you go for the September Academy or the October Academy if you sign on this line. So I can. So that's how I chose Seattle. I knew I wanted to work for Seattle all the time, but I was worried that I wasn't going to get it. So I was that close to being King County Sheriff deputy. So that's how I kind of worked my way here. I now have 3 kids. I have 2 that absolutely love baseball, and my daughter loves softball. Select softball players, select baseball players. My oldest is 16. He's really killing it in baseball and in school. My youngest, I coach him as well. We have a select baseball team. He's phenomenal as well. He'll probably be better than his brother, but don't tell his older brother that I said that. Just because he got to grow up with it, right? I mean, he was throwing baseballs before he could throw baseballs, and yeah, it was really fun. So, and my daughter, it was funny. I coached her at Little League, and she kind of liked it, and then she didn't like it, and then she said she wanted to try it again, and now she's just took off, and she is killing it right now in select softball too. She's one of their top pitchers, so it's really fun to watch and grow. And it was great because I didn't push her to it; she went on her own. I love that. So. Never try to push my kids into anything. I expose them to things, and hopefully they, latch on to what means the most to them and keeps going. So, really dedicated, really school oriented. So that's about me. Sorry about that. My wife works for a tech company on the east side. Very well known tech company on the east side. And yeah, she's a very intelligent person who will put me in my place quite often because she is very much smarter than I am. So it's fun to have those little battles, but I know in the end she's smarter. So that's going to get on the internet. So long and short of, so I started the East Precinct, got that master's degree, and then I was doing third watch hours. I had moved to third watch after I got my master's degree because I just wanted something different. I love patrolling. I would have been patrol my whole career, but now I got this master's degree and I feel like I need to go do something with it. So I started applying for detective spots. And oddly enough, I got a burglary theft detective position in the North Precinct. I say oddly enough because he was there. So we worked as detectives together in the North Precinct several years ago. Oh my gosh, how many years ago was that?
12 maybe?
Yeah,
10, 12, 13.
It's been a long time. So worked at the North Precinct and did as much detective work, property crimes related, as well as juvenile crimes in the North Precinct. That was the mantra of the burglary theft unit. We also did juvenile crimes. So when the suspects were juveniles, we handled the cases. Anything except for, I believe, arson and murder. Those would be handled by homicide or the arson bomb, but we handled everything else, sex crimes, anything else we handled, which was interesting to have a burglary theft detective working juvenile sex cases. It was interesting, but that was how they did it. Ultimately, SAE finally took the juvenile sex crimes. So worked there for, I want to say 3.5 years. I got the Officer of the Year in the North Precinct for my work in the detective unit from busting my hump there. I worked really hard. I tried to help all the other detectives as well, clear out their cases. I just tried to do as much as I possibly could. Then I went back to patrol for a year, got promoted to sergeant, went to the West Precinct for about a year. I was a patrol sergeant in the West Precinct, and then they were coming out with this force investigation team after DOJ came. Thought that'd be a great spot for me because it has an inroad into homicide, which is what I always wanted to do. If I had not been this route, I would have gone to homicide. But I went and I became the force investigation sergeant, and I worked there for 6 years investigating high-level uses of force, including officer-involved shootings. Anytime that somebody basically is put into the hospital, in custody deaths, negligent discharges, accidental discharges when an officer accidentally fires their gun, negligently fires their gun, and serious misconduct related to force. So if officers use force and there's misconduct related, then I would investigate it as that sergeant. Did that for 6 years, took the lieutenant's exam, got promoted, went to audit policy and research, which was, it was an experience learning how to write policy for the police department, make sure that you kind of have that unbiased view. It's, you know, the force investigation team, you have to have the unbiased investigations. And then when you go to the policy unit, you have to write a policy that's not too far leaning for the officers, protects the department and also follows all the laws and, you know, everything. So it's really interesting how to write that and do it the right way. I did that for about 2.5, maybe 3 years. I became the captain of that unit when the captain left. He went to Richmond, Virginia as a deputy chief, and I took over his spot as a captain when I got promoted. And then from there, I went to the range for a year and then was offered this spot and took over in January. So loved coming back to the North Precinct. I love the North Precinct. I know it's massive, but there are so many different communities and so many different things to do in the North Precinct. It is a massive challenge and I absolutely love it. With that being said, there's a lot of problems in the North Precinct. We all know that. I mean, not too far over there, we have a lot of problems. We're all well aware of that, and we're doing the best we can with what we have. And I'm happy to answer questions related to that. But yeah, I think that's it. Mike, do you want to introduce yourself at all?
Hi, I've spoken here a couple of times. I see some familiar faces. Thank you, Gibby, for having us come out. Gibby's been a great partner, a community partner for years. And we see her at a lot of meetings and whatnot. I've been in North Precinct my entire career, all kinds of different jobs, patrol, worked in the schools way back in the day, did bicycle patrol, did a lot of undercover work. Captain's mentioned we worked detectives together. Then I did a lot of sort of a community outreach, community project focus for the last few years. When they dismantled the department due to staffing, a lot of those units we relied on in the precinct, citywide, each precinct, they were just stripped and gone. You know, the proactive narcotics units, the community police teams, the emphasis patrol units, those are all gone because we had enough, barely, you could even argue we don't, to staff just the patrol 911 response. But we had such a big precinct, and because I had some background with the community groups and whatnot, and had a lot of strong relationships, the captain at the time said, Mike, can you come back and do that type of thing? It's not a real position, but we're going to make it a position because it fills a need in the precinct. And so because officers don't have the time to follow up and come to meetings and learn the roots of a problem, dig into them, work with the city agencies that we need to get together to fix a problem that's more than just a 911 stopgap thing and you move on. So we needed to have that, some continuity there. So I've been doing that last few years. It's been a great experience. Had a few captains and they get moved around, they get rotated out. And I've been able to work with a lot of them, and it's fun to see the different approach each one takes and how to solve problems. Unique way each captain brings to the table. It's really great to work with.
I'll step out and you can talk about it.
Yeah. So thank you. Yeah. We're here. Any questions afterwards? Oh yeah, you go ahead. Start right now. Sure.
Sorry, I thought.
No, go ahead. Fire away. We're open.
Has there been any more talk about developing the police station up here?
I wish there was. I don't know if there is. It's higher level than what I had. I know there was a real desire to have it there at one point in time, and the designs went out, and I think too much input went into it, and then the project blew up into a very costly thing. The community didn't want to invest in, but ultimately, the feel that I get from almost every community meeting that I've been to is that you need another precinct. You need another precinct. And to give you an idea, if you cut off North Precinct, you made it its own separate city, it would be like the second or third largest city in the state. There's a population of 247,000 people just by census, just in North Precinct. You go from water to water, 145th down to Ship Canal. It's a massive precinct. So, I get it. We had two precincts. We have North and Northwest precinct. We actually have on our radios, it's already set up. We're North and Northwest, but we just never got it there. So we started planning for it, and then now we just use the North channel. So
We could have really used it up.
I would have loved it. Yeah, I mean, especially on Aurora.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
One
exactly.
different role would have been perfect spot.
Yeah. 100%. I believe that the property is still owned by the city of Seattle, but they shut down that project, and I don't know if there's any kind of push to get it going. I'm not the one to be able to make that decision, unfortunately. If I were, I'd say, hey, let's see what we can do to get that going. So
Where's the location you're talking about?
See if the old Mary's place. Yeah, on Stone and
Okay.
where the tiny home village.
All the way down to it, all the way down to
yes, yes, sir.
There's been some chatter about like more hiring.
Yeah.
The department, what's happening with that? How long does it take to bring officers online?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that too. So, as you know, our numbers dipped quite a ways. That was reported in the news, and our current mayor and our current city council is very pro-police, meaning on hiring, at least for that. And they've been trying to say, hey, we're hiring as many as we possibly can. And they are. Anybody that they can get in the door. And I'll talk about the hiring process because some people will go, well, if you lowered the standards to get people in the door, and that's absolutely not true, to my knowledge, at all. And I'll explain that in a second. But they're hiring as many as they can get in and send to the academy. And then, so hiring a police officer, they've added before the badge, and they had, what's the other one? There's another one. There's before the badge, and then there's one other one. There's so in order to make sure that we retain people, here's another problem is that we have to wait till there's space in the academy, right? So we had been losing people. This is before this hiring process. We were losing people because you'd say, hey, we want you to go, like mine, hey, we want you to go in the October academy. Well, then, if the October academy is 2 months away, I may not have a job for 2 months and I don't get hired until I go to the academy. So the department decided, hey, well, let's put them on the payroll and start training them before the academy, which is what they do now. They have that before the badge. And so they start, before they're police officers, start interacting with the community, start learning what police officers do. They start doing some diversity training. They'll go around to different community meetings. They go to the micro community policing before the badge teams meetings, and they hear from the community. So they start learning before they go to the academy about not only the cultures that are in Seattle, but kind of, what to expect. What did you get yourself into? And that way we can keep them hired, getting them paid so that we can make sure that we are now retaining those people and putting them in the academy. So pre-BLEA, and then they go to the academy, and the academy is 720 hours at the Basic Law Enforcement Academy down in Burien. So it's about five months. You come out of that, and then you go into the field training. So then you go into post-BLEA. So Basic Law Enforcement Academy is BLEA. Post-BLEA is our form of the academy. And the reason why we do that is when you go to the state, you learn about all the state rules, right? You learn what all the RCWs are and not necessarily what the city codes are, because we have our own Seattle municipal codes that a lot of them are duplicate, and a lot of them are different. Like we have a lot of codes in the city of Seattle that the state doesn't have. So you have to come out, you learn how the city of Seattle does things, because we also search buildings a little bit different because we have more people. The state trains every law enforcement officer in the state, right? So you could have a county that has 2 or 3 deputies versus a city of Seattle that has multiple people that you can call for backup and search buildings in a different way. So we teach them how to search with multiple people, with one person. So we have to have that additional time, and I think that's 2 or 3 months now. Is that right? So you go to the academy 5 months, 2 to 3 months for post-BLEA, and then you go into FTO. FTO is like on the job training. So you go through 3 trainers, 3 officers that have been trained to train you. The first rotation is kind of like 75-25. In other words, the police officer that's training you does the vast majority of the work, and you're observing for the most part. But as that progression goes along, that month, it's months, I believe, each month. So for about a month, you're with this officer, and he or she is training you how to do things. And then as that month goes along, you start pulling back a little bit. You have them do a little bit more. I remember on my first rotation, my FTO parked on Broadway. I worked the East Precinct. He parked on Broadway at one end of Broadway, and he said, "Get out of the car." And I was like, "What did I do?" And he said, "I need you to walk the entire length of Broadway, and I want you to engage with every single person you see." I was like, "What is this going to do for me?" And he goes, "You'll see." And I was nervous as heck. This is the first time I'm in full uniform. First time I've ever, like, I have a gun on me. I'm freaking out. And he's like, "Go walk and engage." And I was like, "Am I somebody in trouble?" And he goes, "No, you need to learn to talk to people. You need to learn to engage with the public. You can't, I mean, you're not here with a badge arresting people. You're here to engage with the public and create community." And I was like, all right. It was so nerve wracking. But I started doing that to my students when I became an FTO. So. Because it worked. I mean, it really teaches you that you're more than just a badge and a gun. You know, you're a person too, and you're engaging with people. So first rotation is about 75-25. The second rotation is about 50-50. So now the student officer's driving with the FTO. And then if they kind of get out of sorts and they don't know what to handle or how to do it, or if they get into a situation that's too dangerous, or they're creating a situation that's too dangerous, that FTO can step in and go, "I've got this, you know, hang on, let's pause, let's readjust this. Okay, put you back in." So that's how that happens. Third rotation, it's 75-25 the other way, where the FTO is pretty much not doing much. And then you ultimately go back to your original FTO for a checkout phase, and that you're 100% on your own. We used to have the FTOs were in plain clothes at that point in time, monitoring. Now they have to be in uniform because we've had some issues where people don't recognize that you're a cop, and then we have issues. So, but they're back just grading. So they're watching everything. They'll step in if there's something that goes wonky, like really wonky. But for the most part, you're on your own. And then you're on probation for a year. From the time you get out of from the time you start FTO, you start your probationary period. So, you know, that 3 months plus, you know, another 9 months, or 9 months, you're on FTO, or shadow phase is what they call it, phase 3. So roughly from start to finish, from before the badge to getting out of the academy to being on your own, fully fledged, nobody with you, you're driving the car by yourself, that is roughly about 1.5 to 2 years. So the hiring process, once you have officers leave or retire or whatever to replace them, it's not like I can just hire them and put them on the street the next day. It's 1.5 to 2 years. So right now they've hired, they announced that they hired, they're over 100 this year. I think they're plus 120 right now, closer to 120, but those are all in different stages of the hiring process, whether they're pre-BLEA, post-BLEA, you know, in the academy. I recently was notified that we get another officer that literally just finished FTO, was coming to the North Precinct. So they're trickling in. They're just not, they'll be coming in bigger waves because they initially were hiring and it was a little slow churn, but now my understanding is they're hiring in chunks. So they should be coming out more
How many are you
regularly.
expecting to get with Precinct?
In the North, I don't get to,
You get a quota.
no, I don't get to dictate how many come to me. It's made at the chief's level. They will basically see how many people come out of the academy, and then they look at where the needs are in the department, because they have a list of what precincts need what, you know, how many bodies. I say body, I should say people, sorry. And then they'll say, "Hey, Captain Davisson, we're going to give you 2 people. Where do you want them?" So, and then as they come out more and more, you'll get, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 at a time versus, you know, 1 or 2 tripping.
What are you thinking you actually need?
I would love to have 1,400 officers on this department. And I mean, that would be, we've had staffing studies done before. They recently they're doing a staffing study right now to see what, because we also changed kind of our shift hours. And when they did that, it kind of made the numbers a little bit difficult. So they're doing a staffing study to see how many officers they need to make this staffing model work. So when that comes out, they should have a better idea of how many officers they need. But my understanding is the estimates, like to have a fully staffed department, which I haven't seen on this department in the time that I've been here, is 1,400. The most I've ever seen, I think, is about 1,200. But our population has exploded too, right? I mean, when I got hired on, we probably had 700,000 people, and then maybe less. But as the population grows, you also have all the people that come into Seattle during the week, during the work hours. You get a lot more. You swell to over 1 million. So at least in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, not the department's knowledge, I would say at least 1,400. And I know that their goal is just to keep hiring right now to get as many as we can because our numbers dip down quite a bit.
Is that for the whole city or just in our precinct?
No, the 1,400 would be for the whole city. For the North Precinct, I couldn't tell you the numbers. I know what I currently have, but it's roughly 120, roughly. And I say roughly because you have people that are out on sick leave and different things. So, at any one time, if I had and by the way, the 120, you split that in half because you have different shifts, right? So, and then you split that essentially into thirds because now you have watches as well. So, you go from 60 to, on first watch, it's different. So, yeah, we need more for sure. And they're trying to get them in. So, yeah, I believe you had your hand up next.
It's related to this.
Okay.
So a new hire,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, a new
I'm
hire.
going to wake up.
It's an alarm for mine too. If they come from a different state or a different precinct,
Yes, so that's a
it
little
doesn't
different.
take as long to go through that whole process.
So another state or another city, no, it doesn't. So they go generally if they have equivalent stuff with our academy, what the academy would recognize as being a law enforcement officer, then they can go to an abbreviated academy. Like I went for the full academy, the 720 hours. When I came out, when I got to FTO, there were already officers there that had been from other agencies, especially from the in-state, right? If one of the guys that I worked with was from LaConner. So he didn't have to go through the basic law enforcement academy, again. He had to go through the post bleed with me. So he only had 2.5 months of Seattle specific training where I had to go through the, start to finish. When we have lateral academy people, I think depending on how equivalent it is with their training, where they go, but I'm pretty sure they just come in straight into our FTO program or not FTO program, our post bleed.
Do they get an incentive to try to get?
I don't know what it is right now. Several years ago or last year, I believe it was like $50,000 for like a lateral transfer, right? Because they don't have to train them up, so they're saving money anyway, right? And not saving money, but the academy is expensive. It is. I mean, you have to put 6 months of training into somebody. So if you're getting somebody that already has that training, it's beneficial to them. Yeah.
Have you lost anybody that I saw an advertisement on?
Yes.
I haven't seen anybody go out. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I saw that advertisement too. It's on different radio stations and on Fox and on. I see it, but I haven't heard of anybody. Honestly, I have not heard of anybody doing it. So, yes, sir.
This might not be a fair question, but you have a master's degree in criminology, which makes you a subject matter expert. Have you ever considered legal? You've got the most expertise of anybody in the room. Has anybody ever considered legalizing prostitution as a way
Look at that. That's the second time somebody mentioned that. So I will say this is not in my realm because that would be a policy change and a mayoral approval at the end of the city council's vote, right?
Mhm.
And that would be swayed by the community members trying to get the laws changed. If that ever happened, I'm here to enforce the laws, whatever they are. So I wouldn't give an opinion on that. I've been to Amsterdam, so I have seen legalized prostitution and I've seen it in different forms, but I wouldn't make that valid. So
I've been to Nevada, and there's a little town in northeastern Nevada named Ely, and there is a brothel in Ely and a little railroad. Ely. I went to the little railroad. But
I was wondering where you were going.
Beg pardon? The sign. There's a sign on the side of the brothel that says brothel in big white letters 10 feet high, clearly visible from the tracks. So, they make it easy.
Yeah, I honestly, it would have to come from the community and then from the council vote and then the mayor's office. And I don't live in Seattle, so I wouldn't have a vote anyway. So, but yeah, go ahead.
If I could get back to the precinct for a minute,
Sure.
is there anything that organizations like our civic organization here or individuals can do to express their needs and their concerns and try to put more pressure on
To
on
get that
whom
additional precinct.
to really get that new precinct that we need so bad?
I mean, it's not going to come from my voice, right? It's going to come from the community member. Very similar to changing law. If there's a community need there, that's going to drive it, not me. So, I would say get a hold of your council members and see if there's something that you can do. They would have a better idea of what you could do to get that overall policy change or that push for something.
But I'm just thinking organizations like ours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of
Well,
going.
there's a lot, every community meeting I go to, I have somebody say, why don't we have another precinct? It's such a massive precinct. We should have 2 precincts. And I'll give you an idea of our response times in the North Precinct. Just to drive from, say, Golden Gardens to Magnuson is a good 30-40 minutes if you're not driving code, right? I mean, even code driving that distance, that's probably a good 20 minutes. I mean, that's driving fast and avoiding lights. I mean, it's pretty big. From the precinct to Golden Gardens is a good 15-20 minutes minimum. Same if you're driving from the precinct to Magnuson. So it's huge. And so our call response times in the North Precinct are, of course, higher than the city average because we have a larger volume to go to, or larger square. Yeah. Yeah, please.
Give us an update on soap for the year, the exclusion.
Yes, yeah, happy to do that. So what is it? The patronizing prostitution laws, I would believe that's what they called it. Something along those lines. That was the one that was sponsored by Kathy Moore, who's no longer a representative. I don't know if you know that, but she stepped down due to health concerns, or believe. But she stepped down, yeah. So she stepped down, and we have Deborah Juarez now in it as well. So she kind of championed this bill. The bill was passed by the city council, approved by the mayor, became law. Part of that is the soap and soda zone that is established from 85th to 145th. Now, with that, it allows us to people that have been arrested for prostitution-related crimes. If a judge imposes a soap order on them, then they have to stay out of areas of prostitution. That's what stay out of. So, and there's soda zones too. The soda zones there's one in the university district, and that's stay out of areas of drug. So, but for the soap orders, if they've been arrested and the judge sees them and applies that soap order, and there's only been a handful of them that have been actually issued. And I heard from our vice unit, I want to say yesterday, was yesterday CSTAT? It's all blurring for me. So yesterday was CSTAT, and our vice lieutenant was mentioning that, they keep on arresting people, but they've yet to see the same person because we right now, the way the law is written, we go after the traffickers, the ones that are, the pimps. We can't really go after the sex workers at this time because there's not the stuff that's in place. I can talk about that as well. And then the Johns, or the people that are buying sex. So when we do operations, when our vice unit comes up and does operations, they arrest the Johns, right? They do operations, and they arrest the Johns, and they put them in jail. They go before a judge. The judge finds probable cause and decides that they're need to be placed on a soap order. That happens. So far, the same Johns have not been captured. That makes sense. So we're seeing in the area. So with that law, part of that law, there's a requirement in there to have trauma-informed training by all the officers, as well as all the service providers and all the services in place before we're able to contact the sex workers and see what the next steps are with them. That stuff hasn't been put in place yet. So our officers, unless they see other crimes, it makes it really difficult for them to enforce the law. But the pimps, if we see the way the law is written, it's very specific on what we're allowed to do and what we need in order to contact them and make an arrest for them. And it's pretty, right now it's a work in progress. So hopefully things will improve and change. But right now where we're at, that's our vice unit continues coming up here at least once a month and performing an operation. Just to give you an idea of those operations and how intensive they are for a misdemeanor crime, right? It's a misdemeanor crime. It takes, 3, 4, 5, 6 detectives out there, plus, people watching and making sure that they're safe, and then arrest teams on top of that, plus people at the precinct to make sure that they're doing the documentation, handling, any kind of prisoner processing, and then transport down to the jail. So, I mean, you could have anybody, anywhere up to like 15 people on an operation, and still arrests. So it's just labor intensive right now, but they're trying to apply it as much as they can. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a new park, relatively new park on 143rd and Langdon off Aurora, right by Kid Valley.
Yeah.
And it's just
Off the hook.
wreck the place. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just so terrible. I feel bad if anybody else.
We just drove by and saw the
It's a well.
couch on the curb.
Okay, there, drug market. What, is there anything that can be done?
So one of the things that we have in the North Precinct, we have a NORA 90 car, and that NORA 90 car is literally assigned to Aurora. So both on second watch and third watch. So their job is just to drive up and down Aurora and enforce laws. And understand once they make an arrest, they're off the street for 2 hours processing that arrest. So it's very limited in what we could do with that car, but that's kind of their detail, right? I mean, is drive up and down Aurora. As we were driving here, one of our phenomenal officers who's been on forever, Eric Mitchell, he is kind of a traffic officer that was assigned to our community response group. He works Aurora nonstop, arresting, he's always doing the warrants for people. If there's anybody who needs a warrant, he's in the precinct typing up that warrant as fast as he can. And he's been on, I want to say 40 plus years. Am I wrong?
He's a drug recognition expert, a DUI expert, so any of those specialty things
Yeah.
that would take me 12 hours to do, he can knock them out.
He can do a
Still take a
warrant
few
for
hours.
blood in about.
And he's certified,
It's amazing.
certified at the highest levels.
Wow.
But also in addition to not just 143 and the VIV and the village office, but up and down Aurora. There are so many of these supportive housing facilities. And aside from just doing the enforcement on the street, we're trying to do some other ways. We have been for a while, having regular meetings, convening all the project managers from the DESC properties, some of the other Lehigh properties, all in a group where we communicate on ways to reduce impact to the neighborhood, reduce impact on our call loads, and how to manage their populations better inside, their community members, their residents, and also just the perception of what happens outside the property. It's a blight to the neighborhood wherever they go. That's the common complaint. And they have a lot of strict regulations as well inside. They can't just sort of lock the doors and say no one gets to come and go.
And that's why they're outside.
Yeah,
Right.
and so it's and they have guests and things like that. It's very complicated, and they hear us. They hear the complaints, the managers, and we're all working together on those things as well, trying to find ways. And we'll have another October this month. We're meeting again with a group of project managers and some of us at the precinct. Updates from the last quarter, what's working, but also the enforcement part's still there. If there's an assault or if there's something happening, one of the residents is doing something in the neighborhood, we do our job. We still do the law enforcement part, the policing. But when it's a lot of social, mental health concerns, it's more than just arresting somebody and they go to jail.
Right.
And so some of the concerns that come up are, well, why aren't you just dealing with that all the time? If you listen to our radios on second watch, our officers are literally just doing this calls, right? I mean, they're going for, today we had 3 DOAs, one jumper up a bridge, 2 other people were dead. So, our officers are going to those calls, and especially on somebody who has passed away, that is a lengthy call because we have to work with the family members. We have to work with our sergeant has to respond to that scene no matter what. That's part of our policy. So, and then we have to wait for the fire department, medical examiner. I mean, there's just a lot of.
Like even if an old person dies in your home and
Yes.
you still have to send it.
So we still have to wait until the medical examiner gets there, unless the medical examiner declines to come out for whatever reason, and then says basically you can turn them over to their family as well as a funeral home. But even then, we don't want to just leave because, I mean, it's horrible to lose somebody that you care about. And the last thing you want to be is alone with the person that you were with. And so oftentimes we're trained just to be there with them and talk to them and work through those problems. And so that takes another officer. And a lot of people don't understand all the complications and all the things that we do. I mean, if there's a collision and somebody's injured, that was another thing. Somebody else got in a collision today that was a pretty serious one. So we have to start blocking off roadways, and that takes 3, 4, 5 officers, depending on how complicated that intersection is. So people go, why aren't you doing the proactivity? Part of it is what you're talking about, right? The more officers we have, the better that situation gets, and we can put those people in the places that we need them and do more proactive work, which is what I tell you. If we could do proactive work, I'd work the streets. I loved to do proactive work. That's one of the reasons why I stayed on first watch as long as I did. A lot of people hated it because of the hours, but I loved it because you didn't get as many 911 calls. So you got to do all this proactive work, and I just love that. And then you get like on second watch, it gets the busiest, right? All the people come into the city, and now it's nonstop 911 calls. And then third watch, it becomes the, lights go out. Bad stuff comes, and it becomes even more, call. So, yeah. Yes, please. I thought I saw your hand. Go ahead.
You guys allow for traffic enforcement?
So we have a traffic unit that will actually go out, but officers, when they're on patrol, that's considered an on view. So if I see something that I want to deal with, I can go ahead and make that traffic stop if there's not another call holding, right? And by the way, it's always been frowned upon if you have a call holding in your district and you decide to go out on a traffic stop, because you should be handling your business over here before you on view something, because now I have to handle your district, right? So it's always been called district integrity. So I was George 4 and Charlie 4 for the longest time, and I did not let another officer touch my area unless I was on something big, right? In district integrity, it was like my community, my home. I didn't want anybody to have to touch that. I would take care of it. I would go and talk to everybody. I love to get out on the street, walk on foot beats. I knew everybody in my area. Well, not everybody, it's massive, but in the main areas, you park your car and you just start walking into businesses, you shake people's hands, you just engage with the community. And that's, you start to form your own community, and then you just don't want other officers to come in and have to do work in your area. So that district integrity is there. So yes, if you're in your area or you're driving around and somebody does something reckless in front of you, and if it's something very dangerous, like it doesn't matter if there's a call holding, I got to go handle this. If there's somebody that's speeding through, or strikes somebody or strikes another car and takes off, that's fine. I'm going to try to handle that. So, but specific to traffic enforcement, like I said, a lot of our officers are going 911 calls all day, all night. So we do have a traffic enforcement detail, and I've requested their presence on Aurora. So that's why Eric Mitchell's out here right now, because he comes out here. So he's a very desired resource on this department, and he'll go and spend time on Aurora one night, and then he'll go down to Rainier and work Rainier, and then he'll go down to Southwest Seattle and work Alki, the strip down there. And but he's not the only one. We have other ones. There's another dedicated traffic officer that works during the daytimes that works on Aurora as well. So, and then we have SWAT right now is providing some love to Aurora when they're available, when they're not on search warrants or call outs or anything like that. They will do premise checks up on Aurora. They'll contact people. They'll do things as well. So they're even providing some resources for us.
You share a little bit about statistics for the last year for your precinct.
Yeah, so I've got those right there. So year-to-date violent crime in the North Precinct, these are only North Precinct stats. We're down 11%, property crime is down 15%, burglary is down 23%, motor vehicle theft is down 30%, and shots fired are down 17%. That's year-to-date compared to last year. So crimes are going down. Over the last 28 days, the only one that's not going down is shots fired. That one's equal to what it was last year in this time
How do you
period.
calculate the shots fired metric? Because I hear shots almost every night.
It's based on, so understand the data that we have can only be captured if there's a report on it. So if somebody doesn't call 911 and we don't, and part of that is if we don't find evidence of shots fired, then it doesn't go into a report, right? If somebody calls in shots fired, well, it could be fireworks too. If we find a shell casing or witnesses that are there watching it happen, that becomes a verified incident, right? Or if somebody is injured, that becomes a verified incident. So that's how it gets tracked. Again, there's a lot of crime out there that's never going to be captured in the numbers because it's not reported, right? If you get your windshield broken or you get your car broken into and you decide not to report it because you don't want to deal with the insurance and you don't want to wait for an officer, then there's no tracking, right? So this is based off of the information that we're receiving, officers writing reports and documenting those, or CAD calls with our CAD call, our computer aided dispatch. That's what sends us out. And we can send updates in there as well. If it doesn't rise to the level of needing a police report, we can type up an update like a noise complaint, right? We may not find anybody or issue somebody a citation. We'll clear it from the computer and we still track all of that too. So, yes, sir.
Is there any of those shot detective,
The detectors, yeah, the shot spotter is, I believe, is what it's called. I think that's the term. There's been talk about it, and I don't know. So again, above my head, because they will use what happens in other cities to determine what we're going to go after here. Like there's some technology that we're bringing here. I don't know if you know, there's several cameras along Aurora now, part of the real-time crime center. So we have civilian employees that are monitoring the cameras. And so if shots happen on Aurora, they come on the radio right away and say, hey, we have them on video or we don't have them on video. They'll post pictures of what we're seeing. They'll post it right on our CAD call. So if we have the suspect vehicle that was just involved in a shooting, they'll post that so all the officers can see it right away. So we actually have information as we're coming into a scene versus, you know, a random, you know, it was a white male wearing dark clothing. I mean, it's going to make it difficult for any of us to find anybody. This helps us narrow it down, especially if you have people running from the area. And almost immediately after we got it, the system up, we got a shooter who was shot somebody in the foot and then started riding away on a bicycle. RTCC picked it up, and officers were able to use that information to get into the area. That person, then the officers got him. That guy ran. The officers tracked him to an alleyway, and they kind of held in the alleyway. And ultimately, once SWAT got there, they checked the alleyway. They said, I think I heard dumpster noises. And they went down the alley, and sure enough, he was hiding in the dumpster. So the RTCC was a pretty, within less than a month, I think we had, you know, I mean, that's huge when we get a shooter in custody. And every night, like if there's, you mentioned the shooting, if there is a report of shots fired and RTCC is able to pull up video, they'll let us know right away. So it really helps. It also helps keep the officer safe because we know what we're looking for. Because if you just call in a shots fire, I heard shots, we don't know what we're going to. We don't know who we're looking for. We don't know what kind of weapon it is. We don't know anything. So we're going in there and it's super, super dangerous for everybody, right? Especially, you know, the officers that are literally going towards the shots. So it's really helpful. Yes.
Do you have any idea of why the numbers are down from a year ago? Is it less reporting? Is it less crime? I mean, do you have any?
I honestly believe officers, if you look at the numbers and look at the officers' proactivity, proactivity has been going up, which is what they've been reporting. I think the chief mentioned it the other day. They did a study from like February till current, and our proactivity has gone up, which means that officers are trying to get out there again. You know, for a while they were, you know, not doing as much because they had less officers. So when you don't have a lot of officers to go and back you, right? Or me to go on a dangerous stop and not have somebody to back me because we don't have enough officers, that proactivity starts to dip. But now the numbers are starting to go up and people are starting to get proactive again. And they're starting to go out and contact people. And I'm not saying that that's the only reason, right? But that's one of the reasons, right? When if you put a police car out in front of somewhere, the chances of bad stuff happening right there is lower, right? Versus no police car there in a bad area, right? So, you know, that proactivity, that presence, that being able to drive around and, you know, have those contacts again, it really helps. And then on top of that, people not reporting as much, I don't know. I mean, how do you get a number that you don't know, right? I mean, was the crime actually happening or not? So I believe in the master's program, they call it the dark side of crime, which is the crime that's not reported. So you can't really capture it. There's no way to capture it. That gives you that perception of crime, right? So everybody who's living it feels it. They know it's there, but yet the police are saying, well, we don't see it. It's not in the numbers. The statisticians, the data people are looking at it going, we don't see it. That's why when we talk, we say, hey, if you have something big, make sure that you're calling 911 because otherwise it didn't happen in the stats. So try to do that.
But yeah, we just had a little gal at church Bible study and the kids came by and broke her window and stole her purse out of the car. She had her phone. She called 911. They said they don't come for that sort of thing.
Yeah. So that's another, well, that doesn't mean that they wouldn't take a report. So we also have a telephone reporting unit. So if it doesn't rise to a certain level of necessity or crime or
Right.
like if the suspect has now left and it's below a certain level of dollar amount,
Right.
well, they'll transfer you to the telephone reporting system, or they'll give you the option of reporting it online.
Right.
But you know, if you have, hey, the suspect is literally here and they're breaking into my car now, they're going to dispatch an officer. So,
That she was
but-
actually sitting in her car,
yeah, and that's
what, you know.
And they took off
elderly
running.
Woman, like,
They were in
Yeah.
she was in shock, just, yeah, and it was just, they literally smashed the window. I saw her a half hour after it was, what happened, and she was still, it took her like
shocked.
probably 10, 15 minutes to even know her purse was taken.
Oh my goodness,
Because there was glass everywhere and she was shocked.
that's horrible.
But it felt really, so we were just wondering if, you know, one thought was, I mean, that just seemed, I mean, is that gang related?
Well,
That
well,
somebody would do
it's
something
drug
to people, or is it
I
just-
mean, it could be gang related. It could be somebody that's, I mean,
or
a
maybe
lot
they
of
don't-
crime is a crime of opportunity, right? You see somebody, a vulnerable person, or you see something that's left unattended. A lot of car prowls, a lot of people, one of the stats that we have right now are, you know, a lot of the guns that you see that are stolen that are on the street, where do you think they come from?
sitting in front of.
Yeah. They're not people giving them to their kids or anything. It's literally kids walking up and checking door handles until they find an open one. And then it's the person with the open door handle that has a gun in their car. And now we have a stolen gun. So, and by the way, recommendation, don't ever leave your gun in your car unless you have a safe in your car. So I have my gun in the car when I'm in kids events, but I have a safe in my car. So, intentionally for that, I told him, like, if you're going to put me on call, please put a safe in my car because I don't want my gun on me when I'm at my kids' events. So I want to go have a life too, and I want to be able to interact with my kids and my family and not have to worry about being armed all the time. So yeah, so if you have a gun, please talk to them. Yes,
So I just retired a year ago. I was a DCR.
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. I was a DCR for 30 years.
Yes,
And so that, for those of you who don't know, that's I was on the team that did psychiatric commitment. And I've been to all these facilities, of course, right? Many, many times. But I think the difference through the years really has been the drugs.
oh yeah,
You know, I mean, when people call our office, you kind of want to know meth and fentanyl and what else are they using, you know? And so I feel very protective of the mentally ill at these places,
Yeah.
but you know, God love them. I don't know how you stay sober in one of those places.
Yeah.
I mean, even if that was your goal when you finally got housing, I just don't know how it happens when you're surrounded like that. But I
and talking to our narcotics unit, I totally agree. Talking to our narcotics unit, it's just when you arrest one, there's somebody that fills that gap, right? And it's this never-ending cycle. So I don't know that answer either. And by the way, we see when our narcotics unit makes large arrests that can't be pushed out to the media because they're still working up the food chain, and they're taking in large amounts of dope. And you know, are we seeing that impact on the street? Because there's literally somebody that will just step into their shoes, So, I mean, that's a societal problem right there. That's not something that we can, we can keep on going after the big guys. And that's what the narcotics unit does, by the way. They don't do street level crime. They don't have enough detectives to do so. They're going after the people that are selling to the sellers, right? I mean, they're going after the big weight. So they're doing a lot of great work, and I get to see it on the back end. Unfortunately, you guys don't get to see it. But sometimes they do splash when they finally get up to a certain level, and they know that everything's kind of all the legs and tentacles have been kind of wrinkled in. They'll push that out, and you'll see that big media splash. Occasionally, you'll see the most drugs ever, by a department. That's what goes happen. So go ahead.
I worked at DESC for a while, which is the Downtown Emergency Services Center, which actually is misnamed.
Is that at the 503rd Avenue?
That's where they got started. And they've now got 3 facilities on Aurora, one at 92nd, one at 105th, and a new one at 100 and either 42nd or 100.
Two there.
2 there. Oh, wow. Okay.
There's one new one at 97, or not that new, at 96.
Yeah. So, they have an interesting mission. Now, I'm an engineer. I am not a mental health professional or a sociologist or anything like that, but I was laid off and I was hungry, so I took the job. But they have an interesting role in life. They're taking on people that are not quite ill enough to go to Western states, but not quite healthy enough to where they can lead a normal life. They're this in the middle kind of thing. And that is a hard place to be, because you have to make a decision. Is this person healthy enough that we can take care of them here? Or should we send them to Western? Are they healthy enough to where we can actually release them and let them go about their lives? Those are really hard argumentative decisions to make. And at the risk of an anecdote, one day, one of our tenants was alleged to have threatened one of the neighbors with a hatchet. So 3 SPD officers showed up, and we had a conference about how we were going to go and talk to this tenant and get his side of the story. And the officers were professional. They had this long discussion about the law is. One of them mentioned the 5th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, just that we're all on the same page. We go, they talk to the guy, he comes out, and they're talking to him, and then he does something really stupid. He kicks one of them. And all of a sudden it goes from misdemeanor threatening to felony assault on a police officer. And so they arrested him. And he got really angry at me because he felt I was collaborating, calling all sorts of nasty names. Then I asked the police officers, can I talk to him for just a moment before you carry him? Yes. Is there a number I can call? He wants me to call his father. Most difficult telephone call I've ever had to make. So, sir, I just witnessed your son assault a police officer, and I may have to go testify against him and send him to jail for a couple of years. And that was not an easy phone call to make. But the SPD, the officers are beyond reproach. This guy had health issues, mental health issues, has had it since age 5. His father knew all about it. And DESC really was the best place for him to be. Yes, he probably did go and threaten the neighbor with a hatchet, because that's the kind of thing that he would do. And when they searched his apartment, they found the hatchet. So it is
tough.
It is tough.
And that was not a joke, by the way. I'm just saying it's so difficult because you'll have mental health and then you'll have drugs, right? And those two in combination, it is so difficult, because somebody that you may be able to talk to normally and have them calm down, or at least have a conversation with you, then you add a substance into that, and now it's
right.
Now it's off the hook, right? And there's no communication that you can have that's going to get them to calm down and allow you to make that situation safe.
Right.
So,
And DESC is a wonderful organization in itself, even though it comes with all these problems. The people that work there are extremely dedicated
yes.
to helping this population. They have taken on building housing lots of places where these people would just be on the street and be helpless.
Right.
So,
But you see a neighbor who says, a guy came out of a DESC facility with a hatchet and threatened me.
Yeah.
I can see how that'd be unnerving.
Yeah, it'd be hard.
Chandler, I want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to run.
I'm gonna go. I see one more hand up here, and then I think we're probably wrapping up. Is that we're overtime, aren't we?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, hang on. Let me get to him. He had his hand up, and I'll get to you.
noticing on sirens,
Yes.
since we don't.
Yeah.
It's been nonstop.
And by the way, you want to know what your police officers are doing?
I hear it.
They're working.
And that's
They're
so
working
online.
really hard right now. I guarantee you. Oh wait.
You mentioned several, scenarios where a fully trained police officer needs to stay with a family member or with somebody, or you need traffic control, right? These are probably, I'm thinking, roles that don't necessarily need somebody's at 2 years invested to become an officer. Have you guys looked at bringing in?
So we do have other alternatives. So you have the care unit. What the care unit currently does not do, they deal with what do they call them? Low acuity incidents, right? So we deal with high acuity mental health issues, right? When somebody has a hatchet and is threatening their neighbor, that's considered high acuity. You will always have a police officer. And currently the way that the model goes with care is that the only thing that we can do outside of law enforcement action right now is go offer bottles of water, services if they see somebody that's in need. And then we have the dual dispatch model. So if we have more of it could be high acuity at first, where there's some kind of really high danger level, but then we get there and we can calm them down to the point where, hey, now I can sit here and they can offer you services. We don't necessarily have a crime that's been committed, but we have somebody that's extremely agitated, scaring people. Then care steps in and says, okay, yes, we can deal with this. Sometimes they're like, this is beyond us, right? Or we have somebody that's a danger to themselves or others that needs to go to the hospital and have conversations with the mental health professionals up there. By the way, law enforcement, other than mental health professionals and law enforcement, we're the only two people that can take you without your permission or against your will to a doctor to have you. But we have to meet certain criteria, right? Danger to self or others. If you're trying to hurt yourself or you're trying to hurt somebody else, then we can take you. And then the dual dispatch model. So if we have somebody that's we go to check on them, say a man down, meaning somebody's sleeping on the street, we don't know what's going on. They will dispatch us both at the same time. We take priority. In other words, we go up, we make sure it's safe. Because some people, when you wake them up, they're not happy. I've been almost stabbed once by somebody where I just tried to house them, hey, Seattle police, and they came up with a knife because they're protecting themselves, right? So, it can be really dangerous for those the care unit, the third responders is what they're calling them now. But once we determine that it's safe and that it's not a law enforcement function, like I don't need to take this person to jail, they haven't committed a crime, there's no other law enforcement purpose, and care unit is comfortable being there either by themselves or with us, watching. Generally, if it's something that they can handle without us, we will say, okay, are you good? Yes, we're good. And we'll leave and they'll sit there and have those conversations and provide those services to the best of their ability. For we do have do we have a chaplain still? Okay. So I believe we have a chaplain. So oftentimes when family members pass away, things like that, they will not only have us there, but they'll have a chaplain, but still chaplain he'll be there for a while with us. And then if he feels comfortable, he may have us leave. But I mean, there's not a lot of resources out there that's going to wait with that family member and spend that time. And trust me, when you lose somebody, the last thing you want, I've been on a lot of death scenes in my life and it is very uncomfortable. And it's a very heartbreaking thing to see. And the last thing you want to do when you see somebody with their broken heart, say, hey, I've got all my paperwork out of the way. Good luck to you. Here's a case number. You want to be there until another family member comes or something, so you can have that, that handoff. So, I mean, it's compassion. You have to have it, and it's a tough thing to do. I remember on my first rotation, we had to go deliver a death notification to somebody because their loved one passed away in California, and we were required to go and talk to the family member, and that, like, to this day, I can still hear and see that person crying and the wail that came out of that person because it was totally unexpected. And that stuck with me my whole career. So, yes, sir.
I want to mention anecdotally, we moved here about 2.5 years ago. The first 6 months to a year, we kept having wanderers and like people checking our door handles on our property. Probably a wanderer each month or so. In the last year and a half, we haven't had a single one. And I think a lot of that is to do with your efforts and also with the housing opening up at the end of the block. So I think something's happened. Something good.
Fingers crossed it continues. So, and again, as we get more numbers, I think that will also help. I mean, again, you have a police officer sitting at the end of your street. I mean, just that presence alone, they will go to the next street or the next street. You know what I'm saying? Why commit it in front of an officer and risk going to jail when I can go over here? So you have that deterrence effect just by being. Are we good? All right. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it. He does all the work. He's, by the way, Mike is phenomenal. Everybody loves him. He's the first one that you can reach out to. He mentioned that other officers are going, and I've mentioned it several times, that they're going to call. He kind of created a need that we were lacking, but we lost our CPT, our community police team, when the numbers started shrinking. And so Mike is essentially our CPT. We have 2 CPT officers that are now called project officers. So when I get community concerns that are emailed to me, I can send them to him and he will reach out. He will come and contact you and have that conversation and spend that time with you that we don't necessarily have the opportunity to. So he does a phenomenal job and all I hear are good things about him. So he does the work.
You have any questions here? Kippy's got my contact info.
Great.
All the community members here.
I think we all appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
It's been a long day.